Welcome to A Better HR Business, the podcast that looks at how HR consultants and HR tech firms grow their businesses and how they help their employers to get the best out of their people. Remember, for show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Okay, let's get started.
Hello, welcome back to the show. Great to have you along. And I'm really looking forward to today's conversation with Jordan Peace. Jordan is a fabulous guy. He not only is in the world of HR, but he's also lived in Australia. And who knows, we may detect an accent at some point. But we're going to dive into his life story and Fringe, the business itself. But firstly, Jordan, thanks very much for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here, Ben, and it was good to catch up with you about the time in Australia and some of the things I learned there. I didn't really pick up the accent. I tried to mimic it a few times, and I was shot down pretty quickly, so I kind of stopped.
Yeah, no, it's very dangerous
Yes.
territory. And I'm so glad because it's a legal requirement to adopt an Australian rules football team if you live in Australia for more than 3 months. I just made that up, by the way, if you're listening. I believe you went for the Tigers. You're from Richmond, so
Yes.
the Richmond Tigers. Smart move.
It just fit. And what a sport. Like, what a little known around the world, sadly, but what a great game. Really enjoyed seeing that.
It's an insane game. Good stuff. I really want to learn about Fringe because you guys are doing some amazing things. But for people listening, if you don't know Fringe, Fringe is a lifestyle benefits platform that helps companies attract and retain talent by offering personalized, meaningful perks that go beyond traditional compensation. Obviously, such an important area in so many different ways, but obviously attraction and retention, such key areas, and engagement and so on. So can I take you back a step? Can you lead us into the formation and, where did the idea come from and what led to the creation of Fringe?
Yeah, of course. So I was working as a financial advisor actually years ago with a business partner, and Jason, who's my business partner again this time with Fringe, actually. We ran this kind of fee-based practice where we would just give financial advice, whether it was investing or saving or just sort of having the discipline to sock it away or whatever the case may be, for individuals and couples. And usually they were in their 30s and 40s. So not folks with a lot of money to manage, but folks that with income, and they needed to make plans and have a good strategy around their future. And, a couple of things I learned through that is there are certain topics that most people just don't care about and they don't understand. And one of the topics that really jumped off the page to me doing this work and talking to all of our customers is that they really didn't understand their employee benefits. And some of them were business owners actually supplying employee benefits to others.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like benefits, it's a lot of insurance, it's a lot of finance, it's a lot of something that's written in some sort of alien language that not many of us can speak unless you just nerd out on that stuff like I did for a few years and really know your insurance and your definitions of disability and all this nuance. So explaining all this to my customers and on a one-to-one basis, I often had to wake them up at the end of the meeting. It just was not interesting to them. And I thought, well, man, if they can have a financial advisor who's steeped in this stuff, explain it one-on-one, and it's still not relevant, still boring, then how much are they really paying attention to their employee benefits? How much do they really appreciate their employee benefits? And if they don't, then companies are paying a lot of money every year for something that doesn't actually engender any goodwill or loyalty or excite anyone or cause anyone to stay or recruit their friends or anything. So, so you kind of throw your hands up, oh, what are we doing here? And so my theory was, well, hey, what if we added into this idea of benefits things that were actually beneficial to employees' daily lives? That they didn't have to be sick or dead or disabled or 65 to benefit from their benefits, but they could actually benefit now. And so this idea of lifestyle benefits was born out of that realization. And we decided we wanted to launch a marketplace of lifestyle benefits. We wanted to put the power in the hands of the employee to choose what benefits were most relevant to them and to their family. So to give you some examples, like some of the things that I've used over the years are like a massage membership, or I really enjoy a company called Stitch Fix that will actually like package up clothes and send it to me to try on, and I keep what I like and I ship the rest back because A, I don't have any style, and B, I don't have any time to shop. So it's helpful in multiple ways. And so that's what we did at first, was created this lifestyle benefits marketplace to solve this particular problem of, I don't think employees really appreciate and understand their benefits. So let's give them something that they can, that's tangible, that's now, that's relatable, and they'll actually go and brag to their friends about it, which they do. And then that helps the recruiting effort and the culture building effort for companies that we work with. So it's been a journey.
So they're not all healthcare related benefits. In fact, that doesn't sound like they are at all.
No, we don't touch traditional benefits. That market is well established. There's plenty of players in that market figuring that piece out. And unfortunately, the cost keeps going up and up and up and up, and that's not helping anyone. But it's not something we ever set out to do. We kind of thought, you know what, that's done. We want to think about how to engage employees on their benefits, that they would feel the impact of their benefits. And I think on the whole, most people don't feel the impact of their benefits unless something is going very wrong in their life.
If I switch that to the employer's perspective, what's in it for them? Like, they're thinking, why am I paying for an employee to get clothes shipped out to him?
Right. They're keeping their people. And they're keeping their people engaged. It's the holiday season, right? So let's think through it that way. Like, if I were to tell my wife, hey, I love you so much. We've been married for years. For Christmas, I put no thought into your gift, and I just put some cash in your stocking. I hope you enjoy it. That could actually do more harm than good, to our relationship. And so I think the gift or the benefit or the offering that we offer people, what we offer actually matters. And if it doesn't feel personalized, it doesn't help them feel like they're understood or seen or really appreciated, again, you can do more harm than good with benefits. And so it's not just how much money are you delivering to your employee in terms of salary and benefits, it's how much care and thought was put into what's being delivered to them. And sometimes you actually can deliver less monetarily, but have a much higher perceived value from the employee. One of the studies I'll share real quick that inspired us to move forward with this concept way back in 2018, it was actually a study being done by a competitor. They surveyed 1,000 people, and they basically said, would you rather have this job that's, $100,000 salary, and it has all of these perks and benefits and things on top, or would you rather have this $130,000 salary, right? And just put it out there. And it was 80+% of people pick the lower salary with all of these things stacked up above. And I just thought, what? You would think just on the street, if you ask somebody, they would say, well, clearly I'll take
more money.
I'll take more money. It's all about the money. It turns out it's actually not all about the money. It's about how you make people feel. Do they feel appreciated? Do they feel valued? Do they feel like they belong? I mean, I've got employees that make $65,000 a year because that's what their role fetches in the market. And I've got employees that make $200,000 a year for the very same reason. Both of them feel appreciated. Both of them feel cared for, right? Despite that enormous gap in income. And I think a lot of that is around the benefits and the culture that we create for them, when they're here. And so I've been making this argument for years that, hey, it's not actually all about the money so long as people are paid fairly. It's really more about how they feel about working for you.
Yeah, no, that's very clever. And I'm just thinking back to a long, long time ago when I was running HR inside a business and we bought a service. I think it was actually from one of the largest employee associations in Australia. And what they'd done is they'd banded together and used that massive headcount to have purchasing power. And so they went out to the sector and got discounts from things. But at the end of the day, they then turned that into a card, and that gave you discounts at lots of different vendors, which was cool. And we got that as part of attraction retention, but it wasn't very exciting. So how does the platform itself work?
Yeah.
Fringe,
Yeah, sure. So to go back to the story a little bit, so we built the lifestyle benefits marketplace. So that was a place that folk could actually transact and kind of ascertain some of these services that we thought would enhance their lifestyle, right? That might reduce some stress or give them time back in their day or positively impact their family. So we had some filters as we thought through what services would be appropriate for the platform. But then what we did next is we thought about, well, what are the funding mechanisms for this, Not every company can afford to just do a lifestyle stipend and go, hey, here's your $100 a month that you can use on whatever you like. But they probably have rewards and recognition programs. They probably have some wellness programs. Maybe they do some steps challenges, birthday rewards. Like there's all of these other pockets of kind of budget and kind of programmatic effort that's being put towards people and building culture and people programs. So we built all of that on top of that lifestyle benefits marketplace. So now with Fringe in its current state, because I was describing, 7 years ago, in its current state, it's got that rewards and recognition, challenges, incentives, swag, learning and development. All these things are built right into the platform. And then that marketplace serves as kind of the ultimate place where, hey, I engaged in recognition, or I received one, or I completed my challenge, and now I've received these points. And now I've got a place to actually transact and get some of these services. And then on top of that, because you talked about purchasing power, because we similarly have, big head count and we're able to get some of those discounts in place, we actually pass some of that value directly to our user or the employee, and they can spend their own money. So let's say, you want to get I'm going to say something expensive, like you want to get a Peloton, which is something that you could get through Fringe, right? And you've got $500 saved up through recognitions and incentives and whatever else the employer has given you. But it costs more than that. So you could actually use the points that you have and then put it in a credit card and buy the rest and just get this heavily subsidized piece of equipment. So there's lots of ways in which, those transactions take place. But I think what we're focused on now, probably even more than lifestyle benefits proper, is really just employee experience. Like, how can our tool help employers create a better employee experience where people have one place to go to participate in challenges and to be recognized and to gift others and to buy their company swag and, so they can wear their hats on their Zoom calls. And like all of that in one place is really our pursuit and really has been our focus for a while now. And 2026 is going to be even more of that, just trying to bring it all together and be the cultural hub for businesses of any size, really.
Definitely. No, I can imagine that HR teams and recruiters in large companies, that they'd love this because they can use it in their employment marketing side of things, and look at the attraction of the benefits that we offer. And then the interviews that they're doing, you can add these little bits in, the little snippets, because I would agree that the survey findings were probably accurate, that these little things that you think hash would cover the cost of it, but no, it's the cool factor and the fact that they can be tailored to what they want, not just something handed down from on high. Because I remember one person telling me that they got a Christmas gift from their corporation of bathrobes with the company logo on it, and I'm just, you don't want to imagine your colleague walking around in bathrobes. It's not
too intimate.
Yeah. So too much. If I turn to the business setup formation side of things, I'm fascinated because it's almost like a two-sided marketplace. You've got to get vendors on there to participate in the platform, and then you've got to get companies and their employees to use it. Yeah. Can you give us some flavor of what it took and what you did to get it launched?
Yeah. Initially, it was mostly begging and pleading. But no, in all honesty, it's funny. These startup stories, it's like when you're years in, you're kind of embarrassed at what you had to do to actually get it off the ground. But it is what it is, I remember we got our very first customer because we didn't have a product yet, but we had a website. We had some marketing, and some people found us and they wanted it. And we're like, sure, like we'll figure it out, but we didn't have the platform built. And so I remember it happened to be a customer, thankfully, that was local. And so what we did is we had all their employees come out and we threw a party for them. We threw a launch party for them, and we printed off menus of benefits and gave them purple Sharpies, because that's our kind of company color. And they just X'd off or circled the things that they wanted. We fed them pizza and beer. They went home. We got on our laptops and we got on these websites and we signed them up for all of the things that they said that they wanted. And we just sent them to their email addresses or to their house or whatever, if it was physical or virtual. And that's how we did our first customer, Wow. And then we built our first platform, and then we had to kind of work with some like third party kind of gift code vendors and things like that, so we could kind of get the things that we needed before we established direct relationships with those brands. And it's just been a process over the years of more and more direct relationships and less aggregators, and then more users, which allow us to negotiate better rates. And it's just this incremental growth towards being able to offer something that's like really, at this point, like intrinsically valuable. When you get onto Fringe for the first time, you actually can just get Dash Pass for free. Now, that's something that all of our users can get now. That's just intrinsically part of our negotiation with DoorDash. But that took years, to kind of get that in place, and us showing them that we could send them, legitimate business and so forth.
Yeah.
So
I've spoken to so many founders of large consulting firms and tech firms. And in all cases, what we see on the outside now is this beautiful, shining building or beautiful, shining business. But all of them tell me, yeah, it was just, oh man, treading the pavement. And even Virgin Airlines started with Richard Branson walking up and down with a cardboard saying flights to London, £200 or something. And Airbnb, I believe, started with an Excel spreadsheet, and then they kind of worked it out from there. So that's fabulous. I know you are a fellow podcaster. Can you tell us about how people work the podcast? Why did you do it? And do you enjoy it? And do you see any benefit?
Yeah, no, thanks for the plug. I really enjoy it. To be honest, I prefer being a guest. I'm not a very organized person. And by that, I mean I'm a terribly disorganized person. And so hosting is a little harder for me, because I get caught up in the conversation, and then I go, oh, I'm supposed to ask a question.
I'm supposed to do something, right?
Yeah, so I'm the one that needs to be prompted. But I really enjoy it. And most of those episodes I do with my co-founder, Jason, that I mentioned earlier. This is our second business together. And it tends to be long form. We'll break it up sometimes in terms of what we actually kind of publish out there. But in truth, we sit down for like 3 hours and just talk. The reason why we called it How People Work is a bit of a double entendre. So how people work, meaning how they do their work, like how they go about their occupation, but also how they work in terms of like just how they think, who they are, what motivates them, just like the intricacies of a human being. And so, I've gotten to interview like a cultural anthropologist that explained a bunch of interesting stuff about mankind and society to me. And so you learn a lot, doing a podcast, which is really fun. And it's just sort of like everything that I'm passionate about, I've given myself an excuse to talk about regularly and routinely with a friend, and you just press record before you do it. So I love podcasting for that reason, because I just feel like I'm having a conversation with a friend or with someone I'm just meeting, and I don't pay all that much attention to the fact that the camera's on or that the mic is hot, to be honest. Yeah.
And with your business hat on, would you say that it's good for the business?
Yeah, it is good for the business. I think particularly because you can ask kind of whoever you want to be your guest, and people feel honored by that, So if it's a prospective customer or a partner or an investor or whoever, I get yes 9 times out of 10 when I ask people to be a guest on a podcast. And so it's a fantastic way to kind of get the right people in the room that you want to talk to anyway. And so I think it's a wonderful strategy from a business standpoint as well.
And you talking about just talking with a friend about stories and things like that, and the fact that, Fringe is on the benefit side, you just actually triggered 2 memories. One is back in the oil and gas boom days, a decade or more ago. I remember one company was giving out really fancy bottles of French wine as employee benefits, really nice. The staff were starting to complain because it was the wrong vintage.
Oh, come on.
That is where personalized benefits help. And then there was a separate time in a manufacturing business, heavily unionized, 100% unionized thing. And I was a junior HR guy, and I did the whole newsletter monthly update thing. And my first one, I put out a list of birthdays with, here are the people having their birthday, and so on Wednesday, it's their birthday. And she came in to me utterly furious. And I thought, but I didn't reveal your age or anything. No, I was planning to take the day off and just call in sick that day. But now everyone knows why. So who knows? But these things we learn.
No good deed goes unpunished,
Exactly. Jordan, for people listening to this, who would be the ideal customers or clients of Fringe, in case they might be customers themselves or could refer in business, or who knows?
Our typical customers are size-wise, they're in that 100 to 1,000 range, but we've got some that are 50 and we've got some that are 20,000 and beyond. And so, I don't think it's so important the size of the company. I think it's really more about what I call high culture companies, like companies who not just pay lip service to caring about people. They're not just trying to improve some statistics around, recruiting and retention, but they've got leadership that actually care, because I think we challenge our customers to kind of really go above and beyond, maybe what some of their peers are doing, or at least, even if that's not true financially, it's at least true from a strategic standpoint. Like we really challenge them to think through, how are you building a culture where people want to stay? Not just delivering benefits, not just throwing platforms and programs at them, but like, what's your plan? What's your strategy? What's your vision for the culture of this company? And so I think leaders who think that way and who have a vision would really enjoy working with us, and really enjoy kind of the process of like figuring out the programs and what comes first, second, and third and all of that. So you just got to find people who care. We've looked at geography, we've looked at industry, size, etc. And the only thread through the whole thing is just like, can you identify leaders who care? And thankfully we can, because these days leaders who care, they come and they do podcasts and they share and they post and they let it be known that they care. And as a result, they tend to have a good time recruiting and retaining. And we aid in that.
They're the people you want to work with. Yeah. We all know that those on the other side who maybe don't care as much. So it is great when we meet them and who want to make work life better for all involved. Can I just end with, you've run 2 businesses now, and so you've made mistakes, you've done things well. Any sort of marketing advice for people who are trying to work out, well, there's 100 different marketing methods and channels and things to choose from. What's your advice on how to market and grow their businesses better, particularly in the HR space?
I think we got to be honest these days. I think we're a heavily marketed to society. Like we live in a attention economy. Everything's vying for our attention all the time. And so as a result of that, I think a lot of the tactics that once worked don't and anymore, because I think people are just inundated and they're just sick of it and they don't want any more emails in their inbox, and they won't take the time, sadly, to engage in anything kind of long and deep and nuanced. The one thing that I think always works and will always work is be authentic and tell stories. Like stories are the heartbeat of how human beings communicate with one another. It always has been since before we had written language. Stories passed down orally were the way in which societies were formed and kind of the core stories of humanity were formed. I don't think that can be engineered out by technology or changes in culture. I think that's a permanent fixture in mankind. And so I think be authentic and tell stories is really the way to go. And it's actually not that hard. You just tell the truth, tell what has happened in the midst of your company or how customers are experiencing it, admit some mistakes, show some faults, be vulnerable, all the hard stuff, personally and emotionally hard stuff. But I think that's what I see rewarded in the marketing space or in the thought leadership space or in the influencer space. It's just who's real. That's what I try to do. I mean, I don't know if you call it a strategy. It's more just like a way I've chosen to be is like, I'm not going to filter. I'm not going to be a different person on camera or a different person in front of him or her or whatever. And I think that's rewarded.
That's excellent. That's rewarded, but it's also easier. It's more enjoyable too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're trying to hide things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you've built something you're proud of, and you're like working with integrity and high character and you got nothing to hide, it's very easy.
I think people want that. They see that, they feel it. Yeah.
No, yeah, they do. They do.
Jordan, you've shared so many great stories, advice, and so on. So I really appreciate it. If people want to learn more about Fringe, what should they do next?
I'd say jump on LinkedIn and give me a follow. I post more than Fringe post, and it's probably a bit more broad around just sort of people, future of work, and so forth. It's not all kind of product heavy type of content that I'll put out there. So I'd say give me a follow, and if you're really interested, shoot me a DM and we'll chat.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening to this on the go, check the show notes. We'll have Jordan's LinkedIn there and also the company fringe.us. But Jordan, yeah, thank you very much. And I will keep you posted on how the Richmond Tigers are going in the Australian Football League.
Thanks for doing that, Ben. I really enjoyed being here.
Thanks for joining us today on A Better HR Business, the podcast that explores the world of HR consulting and HR tech businesses. For show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Remember to subscribe and share the show with any friends who are busy growing a HR business. Thanks, and see you next time.